Shedding some tears was the least thing I could do, knowing that this probably is the last time that we will see Ewan McGregor portray Obi-Wan in Star Wars. You never know, of course, he might be back, maybe season 2, but all in all, a great finale. And to start off with, we go back to where it all started on Tatooine, where Reva teaches the bully guy from the first episode a lesson. She is searching for Owen. In the meantime, Vader aboard a Star Destroyer together with the Grand Inquisitor are pursuing this small contingent who saved Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan, though, realizes the truth that in order to save these people, he will have to face Vader alone, distract him while they get away until they fix the hyperdrive. This is where he departs with Leia, and Leia sneakingly gives him the Lola droid to give him hope. Also a gift from Obi-Wan to Leia, which is a holster, so just a neat tie-in to carry the torch. Leia will in the end become a great rebel leader. Obi-Wan, before he leaves, tells Roken to continue fighting, never stop, never change, and with Vader electing to not listen to the Grand Inquisitor and pursue these defectors, turn the ship around to pursue Obi-Wan, this in turn tells us exactly what Palpatine feared all these years. Even in the Legends comics, this is a hint that basically everything that the Empire had to contend with in the future, meaning the rebels and every other aspect, was because Vader refused to look at things logically when it came to Obi-Wan. Jedi survivors at one point almost killed Darth Vader, set a trap for him just because they mentioned the name Obi-Wan. We see the same thing from Legends in canon too, that if Vader had pursued this small ship and destroyed it, we might not have any rebellion at all in the future. So in a sense, Vader is responsible for the rebels' survival. The true final meeting is at hand. Vader lands on this unknown planet, but this time around, Obi-Wan is the one waiting for him. So this is where I wanted to get mainly because we get the most juice out of this episode during this time, during their duel. There were so many callbacks, so many moments, and so many little things that you might have missed during this duel that we have to talk about. This starts with Vader asking Obi-Wan, "Have you come to destroy me?" This duel was eerily similar to what happened on Mustafar between Obi-Wan and Anakin, because this is exactly what kind of paralleled it. At that time, Anakin knew that Obi-Wan had come to Mustafar to destroy him. Obi-Wan responded the same way here: "I will do what I must," and he got his Form 3 stance ready to strike. This is not only a callback to the Clone Wars animated show and to Obi-Wan in general in Revenge of the Sith, but this is also a callback to Star Wars Rebels, where Ben Kenobi did prepare his stance against Darth Maul on Tatooine this same way, but then elected to fool Maul by taking Qui-Gon's stance instead, and Maul fell for the trap. What I was very surprised by is Vader's fighting style. This time it was not a brute force style, but it was more stylish than expected. We have not seen this type of fighting from Vader because we understood that his machinery had its limitations. What I think is the changing of the actors. I think that other actors played Vader during other episodes, more particularly during episode 3, but this time around it's Hayden Christensen in the suit, and that's why he is getting his muscle memory back. That's why he's fighting Obi-Wan the same way Anakin fought Obi-Wan in the prequels. As the duel goes on, there are hints that Obi-Wan's powers have kind of come back, but we see that he is still hesitant. Similar to what Vader did to Luke in Empire Strikes Back, he distracts Obi-Wan with rocks at first, then shakes the ground completely, making a hole in the middle to which Obi-Wan falls into. Naively, Vader concludes the duel here by crushing him with rocks, thinking that his master is dead. A very neat shot here. While Vader did not say it, we completely understood that at this time around, it was Vader who had the high ground and not Obi-Wan. Later though, we find out that Obi-Wan was actually not crushed. He was holding on to dear life with the Force, not letting the big rock crush him. Again, it is the rare instances where he feels the PTSD coming in. Fear consumes him. It comes back in the form form of what Anakin said to him prior and what Vader said to him now. It's all a mishmash of bad, but in the end, he realizes what he is really fighting for, who he needs to fight for and protect, and that is little Luke and little Leia. With that bit of inspiration, this is the moment where I think the light overcomes him and he practically gets his powers back. If you see here, not only does he push back the rocks, he force jumps a bit too. Even Vader is caught by surprise as he did not expect Obi-Wan to sneak behind him, and the dueling continues. The difference between previously and now is night and day basically, because Obi-Wan is completely back. If I may say so, he is even more powerful than he was in the prequels this time. Obi-Wan had basically quit being on the defensive. He was fully in charge of this second round of the duel. He went at Vader without hesitation, relentless attacking, and one of the defining moments was during their duel while Vader is out of control, Obi-Wan pushes down Vader's lightsaber and force pushes him to the rocks. We can hear Vader in pain, and the force prowess that Obi-Wan shows at this moment we have not seen from him before. He lifts every rock he can around him and hurls it at Darth Vader without remorse. This is one of the scenes where it was very reminiscent to what Vader would do to Luke later on. So who knows, this is where Vader might have picked up that trick. Obi-Wan did it to him, and then Vader did the same thing to his son years later on Bespin. By this point, Vader had already lost. Obi-Wan was determined to defeat him once and for all, and it was pretty shocking what he did, because Obi-Wan went for something that has been criticized for a long time. Vader, this all-powerful Sith and mechanical monster, has all of his life signatures and consoles directly in the middle of his chest. A machinery that is very vulnerable to attack, Obi-Wan elects to go for that. Sparks fly as Obi-Wan damages that life console, strikes Vader with a lightsaber in the back, and I knew this was ultimately going to happen. Obi-Wan slices Vader's mask in half, at least the front part. What I think the duel resembled was a mishmash of Revenge of the Sith, A New Hope, and Star Wars Rebels, the episode where Ahsoka fights Darth Vader. Even though Obi-Wan knew that Anakin was in there, he was still shocked to see his face, to see what has become of him. Similar to Rebels, of course, Vader says that Anakin is dead. All that remains is me, meaning the Sith Lord that he sees before him. What's great, of course, and it's going to live on forever, is during these moments, similar to Rebels, you can hear both Anakin's voice and Vader's voice interchanging as the voice modulator is glitching out. I thought that was just beautiful and emotional. Of course, you can imagine your boy Bessie cried a lot during these moments, but more so knowing that these two actors might not portray these characters again ever, and this is all that we will get. And I think this is the moment where Obi-Wan's heart just shattered, seeing his former friend like this. He goes on to literally apologize to Anakin, saying, "I'm sorry." If you listen closely, while Obi-Wan is saying sorry, he still calls him Anakin. It is Vader who convinces Obi-Wan that Anakin is truly dead and that Obi-Wan didn't kill Anakin Skywalker. He says, "I did." And what is even more creepier is Anakin's face. Seeing his master cry like this in sheer remorse, he is smiling a little bit, knowing that he is hurting Obi-Wan even more emotionally if he can't physically. This is why Obi-Wan in the end realizes that Anakin is truly dead and proceeds to call him Darth, linking, of course, the reason why Ben Kenobi in A New Hope calls Vader just Darth and not by his name. Just quick notes here. When Obi-Wan was talking to Anakin and Anakin was listening, there was hints of blue on his face from Obi-Wan's lightsaber. But the moment he says, "I have killed Anakin," then his lightsaber emits a complete blood red, signifying the change of nature, that Anakin is buried deep inside. That good in him that Padme said is almost dead. When Obi-Wan says, "Then my friend is truly dead," to Vader, this is a callback, or a call forward, I should say, to when Luke comes to the same conclusion in Return of the Jedi when he says, "Then my father is truly dead." In clear Obi-Wan fashion, still being the prime example of a Jedi that he is, he says goodbye, Darth, as he leaves Anakin, circulating to what he taught Anakin. to show mercy to his enemy. Well, I expected many things, but I did not expect Vader to shout Obi-Wan at the top of his now smoked lungs twice even. And again, this is sort of an Easter egg to Maul yelling Kenobi on Tatooine. So a great scene from two villains yelling about the same Jedi. This tells you how great of a Jedi Obi-Wan ultimately will be remembered as. The people who hated him truly hated him, but he still showed them mercy. During this time, Reva was attempting to kill Luke, and while Owen and Beru tried, they couldn't stop Reva, but Luke escaped around the Jundland Wastes. Obi-Wan arrives, but they can't find him until he sees Reva bringing Luke back. You see, when it came time, Reva just could not do it. And this actually shows you how Anakin fell even during Attack of the Clones, because the meme is for real, guys. Reva could kill the men, she could kill the women, but she couldn't kill the children. And that's why she could never become as evil as Darth Vader. This is what Obi-Wan shows her. This is what Obi-Wan tells her, to find her own path. Create a new one. With the finale, now we see that Reva actually survived with all this information in mind. While we don't see her in the original trilogy and she might be actually dead by that time, I think that we will definitely see Reva in another medium some way, somehow, and I've got some ideas about that. But oh my god, the moment we cut back to Mustafar, I knew that Vader was talking to Palpatine, and that's exactly what he was doing. We got the Senate back, my friends. Vader sitting on his throne talking to his master. Palpy looked kinda weird, but I think it was a mishmash of different makeup and prosthetics, and also for some reason the lighting was just too much on his head, to the point where you could see behind his cloak even, and we haven't got accustomed to seeing Palpatine this way, especially when he is hooded. He has much more of a darker tone, but essentially we got the same treatment that Vader had from Palpatine in Legends. You see, in some canon comics in the 2017 version and in Legends, Vader is constantly off to his own thing. This time around, Obi-Wan, Palpatine is constantly trying to rein him in, trying to prove to him that one mere Jedi has no value when it comes to their grand empire and their grand plans. Furthermore, if you listen to the discussion closely, you can hear Palpatine doubting in Vader at this moment. This is why Vader immediately steps back and reassures Palpatine that he will no longer be focused on Kenobi. He will be focused on their empire. It's because Palpatine still has doubts about his past. Palpatine and other Sith too saw this major flaw in Darth Vader. No matter how big of a powerful Sith he was, he still had his past as a Jedi, meaning that light was lingering inside. Vader knows this, and that's why he reassures his master that he will no longer cling to his past. He will look on to his future as a Sith. One more quick note, I loved how Ian McDiarmid started as good old man Palpatine, Chancellor Palpatine, at the beginning of the conversation, but by the end he turned fully Palpatine evil, and the Imperial March at the end was spectacular too. We got a lot of soundtracks that came back. Leia's soundtrack came back at the end when she said goodbye to Obi-Wan too, and Obi-Wan's theme as well. These are the moments that I started fully on kind of being teary-eyed, and I couldn't control myself. In fact, me and my wife were crying together because these scenes with Leia, those old tunes, everything that was happening was just sort of hitting me. Knowing that these might be the last scenes that we will see Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan. Alec Guinness was good, but Ewan McGregor has been great as Obi-Wan. He has basically revitalized this character. From the prequels to the series, he will forever be remembered as the greatest Obi-Wan to ever live. Back on Tatooine, Obi-Wan leaves his cave and goes to reassure Owen, together with the shuttle toy, that he will no longer bother Owen, Luke, and anybody else. He is now going into his life as a hermit. The thing that happened with Reva, Owen now understands the value of Obi-Wan a little bit more. A Jedi protector needs to be around. And this is when he elects to let Obi-Wan meet Luke for the first time. Not only does Obi-Wan has the toy on his hand, but we get a glorious hello there. This episode was just right thing at the right time. It wasn't just shoehorned in just for nostalgia's sake. At least I think like that. Everything was perfectly set. They had me fooled though. Before the series ended, I thought that we would not get any Qui-Gon. Of course, I was wrong. We get Liam Neeson back as Qui-Gon. Obi-Wan is glad to see him, calls him Master Qui-Gon. That was great to hear again. And Qui-Gon turns around in the form of a Force ghost, tells Obi-Wan that he was always here. But Obi-Wan was just not ready to see. Many, of course, are going to be asking why, if Qui-Gon could appear as a Force ghost, now officially confirmed in canon, why did he not appear in the end of Return of the Jedi to Luke together with the others? There's a lot to be talked about there too, but we're going to leave it for a different video. This was it was a pleasure to cover all the entire Obi-Wan series with you. Hope you enjoyed my babbling and my analysis. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. This was a great series to go through. I will always love you guys for that. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next video, hopefully, and may the Force be with you. Until then.